Okay, sure. And yeah, my name is Hong Tat, but most people call me Hong. Yeah, so I'm a senior software engineer at Orsted, a green energy company, and who is mm, developing an in-house program for in-house usage. And yep, the tech stage will be the .NET Core as a backend, and the front end we are using Angular. And yeah, that's about me. I think let me share my screen now. Yep, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay, cool. So this is the first session of Angular study group. And yeah, my name is Song Tat. So Angular is actually a very, very big topic. And in order to know Angular, you need to know the HTML, CSS, and also the JavaScript. The fundamental of Angular is JavaScript and the TypeScript, because JavaScript, no, Angular built on top of TypeScript. So, and then the lastly will be the Angular. So because of there are so many learning things you have to learn. Yeah, so I need to split into few sections. It's not only one. Yeah, probably the Angular section here, right? I need to split further, maybe the basic and also some form reactive, so on and so forth. But let's see how it goes first. All right. So I'll start my sharing now. Okay. Okay. So today we're gonna learn the basic, the HTML and CSS, and forget about the Angular, right? Because without the HTML and CSS knowledge, right, we probably cannot code the Angular. Okay, so let's start. The HTML is stand for the hypertext markup language, and it is not a programming language. And yeah, you cannot tell people that you know HTML by how to meet ladies, right? Yeah. So it is a markup language that define the structure of your HTML file. Okay, and yep, before I start further, right, if any of you cannot follow what I'm saying, you can put your question in the chat, and from time to time I'll try to answer that. Okay. And yeah, HTML is a markup language that defines the structure of your content. So it's a structure only for HTML, right? That's the definition, define the structure of your content. Okay, so the HTML actually consists of a series of elements. What is an element? Let me show you. And this is an element. So the element, right, must start with a tag and end with another tag. So my cat is very grumpy here is an content, right? So by putting this into HTML, we are actually displaying a paragraph. Okay, so let's go further a bit. So the P in the beginning is the opening tag, and the P at the back right is a closing tag. And the content here is my cat is very grumpy. So the whole thing here, we call it an element. Okay, the next. So for every element, right, we can actually put an attribute into it. So the attribute is actually a key value pair. So you can, one of it will be a class equal to the the class name. All right. So we'll learn further about the class later. So let's go to the type of element. Okay. So element actually can be nested. So just now we show you my cat is very grumpy. And if I were to emphasize the very here, so we actually need to put another tag into the paragraph tag. So if you see here, my cat is, then we have a strong tag here, very, and a closing strong tag, grumpy. So an element can actually have another element within it. Okay. So the next element will be the empty element. Not every element will have the content inside. For example, for image. So what we need to define for image, right? It's just a source to point to the image and also the alternative text for the image in case the link is broken. Okay, not only for image tag is empty element. If you look at the tag below, like the BR, brick, embedded, embed, the HR is line, image, so on and so forth. Those are the empty element. And yep, let's see if we have any question. Okay,
No, so far
no.
so good.
Right, cool.
I'll help you with the questions. So if anyone writes anything on the chat, I'll keep a eye on it and I'll prompt you.
All right, cool. Thank you. Okay, so let's go further with the HTML template. So in order to start with the HTML, we need to have a base template. So the code here are the base. This is something at minimum you must have for the HTML file. All right. So let's identify the type inside this template. Okay. If you look at the green one, which is the blank element. So if you look at the meta tag here, there's no content in it. So this is a blank element for the meta tag here. All right. So the next one will be the blue color one, which is the element with the opening and closing tag. This is very, um, you can see it very frequent. It's like a HTML tag. There will be the opening tag here and the closing tag here. Okay. And within the HTML, you have a nested element called the head. This is the head tag with the opening one and the closing one. Okay. And the next one will be the nested element. You'll see the head tag is sitting inside the HTML element. So this is another nested one. Same goes to the body. Okay. And the title here with the opening title tag and the closing title tag. This is another nested element inside the head element. Okay. So next. Okay. Now we just learned about the HTML template. Let's go further into the head element. Yep. Head element is actually not for display purpose. The head element here is to define the property of this HTML file. Okay, so the browser will actually look at the head element here and study the head element and display according to the head element. Okay, so let's see what are the things defined in the head element. So I'll show you the basic head tag. There will be a lot, but I show you the common one. So the first of all will be the metadata, the char character set. Normally we'll use the character set, which is the UTF-8. If you look at the example on the right, the Japanese example, you'll see it display properly if you use the UTF-8. But in some case, we need to change it to another character set. But not often you need to change it, but sometimes you have to change. Look at the example on the bottom. The character set, we set it to ISO 8859-1. You can render the other language well, but not for the Japanese. Okay, so if come to this character set, right, most of the time we need to use UTF-8. Okay, okay. The next thing, the meta tag we're gonna learn here is the description meta tag. Okay, if we define the description of this HTML page here in this meta tag, right, whenever there's a crawler from Google or from Bing crawl your website, and they're gonna study your description here. And when people search on the Google search or the Bing, you'll see those descriptions display on the bottom of your link. So here you can tell people what is your website content and what is this web gonna do. Okay. The next thing will be the Open Graph data. So if you always copy a link, paste to a Facebook, WhatsApp, or a messenger, you'll see after the link put there, there'll be a preview of the link. You'll see a picture there with the title and description. All right. So all those information, right, are actually defined in the meta tag here. So the meta tag is called Open Graph. It is initially introduced by Facebook and currently is widely used all over the world. All right. So the first one will be the meta tag with the property name called OG. OG stands for Open Graph, and with a column image, and then you put the content to the image link. All right. And then when people copy paste the link, right, you'll see your image display on the preview. The next thing will be the description. If you put the description here, and when people look at the preview, right, this description will show up in the preview, and same goes to the title. So all this, we call it as an Open Graph tag. Okay. And the next thing will be the title. For a HTML page, if you put a title in the head, it gonna display on the browser tab. So this is quite important because people often open up so many tabs, right? And when they look at the tab and to find your website, they're going to read the title here. So every time you develop a new HTML page, you need to put a title here so that people can find it via the browser tab. Okay. And also inside the head element, you can also put a link here to link to external CSS file, right? The tag we can use here is link tag with the REL. REL stands for relationship equal to style sheet. Style sheet CSS is cascading style sheet. So we need to put a style sheet here. Okay. With the href is the hyperlink reference. So you can either put a HTML, it's a HTTP link, or you can put a relative path. Later on, I'll talk more about this later. Okay. And inside the head tag, you can also link to your JavaScript file. So the element you're gonna use is that the script and the type you need to put it text/JavaScript. This is hard-coded, you cannot change it. All right. And also the source, right, will be pointing to your JavaScript file, and then with the closing tab. So for this JavaScript file, right, this is not an empty element. You need to put a opening tag and a close tag, otherwise it will not work. Okay. All right. So to the relative path, just now when we talk about the source here and also the href here, normally we'll use a relative path because if we put an obsolete path, right, when we move the folder to another computer or to another place, and the link here will be broken. So how to use the relative path here? For example, inside the www folder, you have the HTML file. You have two folders. All right. If let's say you are opening index.html file and you would like to link the script.js and the style.css into this file. Okay. So what you're gonna do is that you need to put a slash dot slash meaning they're gonna find the file within the same directory. Okay. And then followed by the script, and then they'll go to the script folder, and then you'll see there's a script.js. So they'll find the file within the script folder and then script.js. All right, same go to the style. So this is the relative path. Okay. Okay, so I have done with the head tag. So if you guys have any question, you can always put it in the chat here. Okay, next, move to the next one is the body. Just now the head tag, right, is to define the property for the browser, how the browser want to behave according to the HTML file. Okay, and then the body here, right, is the content to display to the to the reader. Okay, let's see what other thing can do inside the body element.
Hong, this is Dhananjay. Uh,
Sorry.
this is Dhananjay. I have a question for this.
Okay.
If you can, like, navigate to the previous slide where we are showing the relative path. Yeah, this one. So basically, like you're saying, like dot forward slash, right? So does that mean like dot forward slash will directly point to the www root folder, right?
No, the dot slash is pointing to the same folder as the index.html. So in order to point to triple W folder, you need to put a double slash. No,
Uh,
double dot. Sorry, let me show
Actually,
you.
index.html is your file name, right? And
Yes.
and all the basically folders are in the www folder. That is the
Yeah.
parent folder. So
Yes.
basically, if you will put the forward slash dot forward slash, that means it will point to automatically to the www folder, and in
Um.
which basically you will be having this particular directory structure.
Okay, but the one I know is slightly different because to point to
Means
triple
I'm
W folder, you need to put a double dot.
May I interrupt
Yeah.
here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What Dhananjay is saying is actually right, but he is putting it into the wrong words. What
Okay.
the forward slash is doing here is it's coming out of the directory. It's just like that. Uh, when you are in a folder structure and you have a folder, then you go back to the parent folder. So what dot slash is doing is it's coming out of your parent is for into a parent folder, then it's getting into a secondary folder, that is scripts folder or styles folder, and inside its file. Here the parent folder is www. So technically what he is saying is correct, that yes, it's coming to www folder, but
Yeah.
ideally we do not say that dot slash means www folder. It just means that we are navigating to the parent folder. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
okay.
You're right.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. If you were to go out to the triple W folder, you need to put a double dot. Then you have to
Hmm.
redirect out to the parent folder. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks all.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Next, we're gonna see what a body element can do. All right. Next thing, before I start with the body element, there are two type of element in the body. First of all is the block level element. The other one will be the inline element. Okay, let's see what is a block element. Okay, if you define an element which is a block level element, the before the element start, there'll be a new line, and after the element end, there'll be another new line. So that means it will stretch out the whole element and occupy the whole row. Okay, this is block level element. And yeah, I'm going to show you an example later. Okay. And the inline element. So the inline element will not start with a new line, and it will take up as much width as necessary only. So if you look at the example below, okay, if a span element is an element within an element, right? The highlighted element here is an inline element. That means it doesn't have a new line on before and the new line after the element. So we call this inline element. Okay. Okay. Next. Okay. After we know about the block level element and inline element, let's go to the basic body element. So there are lots of tag element here you can learn, but I'm going to show you the basic one. All right. So first of all, the most common thing that we use is the headings. Heading is the title that you use inside the content to show the header. All right. So there are 6 levels of heading you can use. The first one will be the H1 and the last one will be the H6. There will be no heading above beyond H6. So normally you can choose from H1, H2, H3 until H6. So it depends on your use case. And H1 will have the largest font size, and the H6 will have the smallest font size. All right. Okay, the next thing, okay, before I move to next, right, the heading is actually a block level element. That means whenever you use the H1 until H6 as the element inside the body, you'll have a new line before the H1 and a new line after the H1. Okay, so that means the headings are the block level element. All right, so the second thing is division. Division in HTML, they use a short form called div. It stands for division. Right. It is an empty container. It's actually to define a section inside a HTML file. In another word, we often use this element to group the other element together. If you look at the example right below, the first element is div and we put some style in it. Okay. And inside the element, right, we have the h2, which is the London content in it. You see the example on the right. The London is actually a block level element which they have a new line before and the new line after. Okay, same go to the P. P stands for paragraph. So the paragraph here is the block level element too. So that means you will have one line, a new line above and new line after. So here's the display you see. Okay. So that means the division, right, is used to group element together, and it is a empty container. Okay, the next element I'm going to talk about is the unordered list. Sometimes we need to list out the item inside the HTML file. All right. So the element that we can use, right, is the UL. UL stands for unordered list. Okay, it is a block level element too. That means you have a new line before and a new line after. If you want to display the item inside the unordered list, you need to use another element called li. Li is list item. So it depends on how many items you want to put inside here. So in this case, right, we have the 3 items. If you look at the example on the right, you'll see there will be a dot before the item. Okay. The next thing will be the order list. Compared to the unordered list, right? Order list will display 1, 2, 3 for the item. So the element that you need to use, right, is OL. O is order, L is list. All right. But the element within the OL is still the same. It's called ILI, list item. So if you look at the result on the right, it will show you 1, 2, and 3. Okay, this is also an block level element. Okay, the last block level element that I'm going to show you here is the paragraph. Okay, paragraph is the most common thing we use in the HTML to display a paragraph to the user. Okay, yes, this is quite simple. Yeah, and the next one, span. Okay, span is actually an inline container. It's an inline element. Okay, whatever we use in the inline element, it will not have the new line on top and the new line below. Look at the example below. If you have a paragraph as a parent, so look at the content, add the basil, pine line, and garlic to a blender and blend into paste. So if you look at the span that they use here, that the result actually doesn't show a new line before and the new line after. So this is an inline element. So it will work together with the paragraph and will not have the new line. And span here, right, is actually used for styling purposes only. It doesn't have any meaning in it. So we don't use, so this element doesn't do anything. It only used for styling purpose. Okay. So same go to bold. If let's say in a paragraph, you want to bold a certain word, you can use an element called B tag. So look at the example below. You have this is normal text dash, and you start with the B tag, and this is the bold text, and closing by the B tag, and then followed by the closing P tag. And if you look at the result, right, you'll see half of it are bold, half of it is not. Okay, and next, so italic italic is same as the bold. You can use italic tag to element to italic some word of it, like the example here. So this is normal tag dash, and this is italic text. So you use an I element to display the text in italic. Okay, so to link a link, right, is actually a link. When you click on it, they'll redirect you to another website. Okay, so the element here is A, but there will be but there's a problem with the link here. So if you put an A element here with the content, click here to redirect to Google. But if you look at the browser here, it doesn't show the blue line and where you can click on it, simply because you need to define a attribute within the element. Okay, the element here is fixed. The attribute here is fixed, is the href, which is hyperlink reference. So you need to put a link here. So after you put the link and you refresh your browser, it'll show you the blue link, which is clickable. When you click on it, you'll be redirected to a Google website. Okay, so the link element is an inline element too. This is not a block level element. Okay, same go to image. Image is also a inline element. So to use the image here, you need to use the img element tag followed by these two attributes. So the first attribute is src, stand for source, and you need to point it to the picture path, and then followed by the alternative tag if your picture link is broken. Okay, this is a good flow where the image is showing. You see a Pikachu. Okay, if the Pikachu image link is broken, it will show you the alternative text. It's like the example I show on the right. Okay. Okay, let me show you some demo. Okay, so the editor that I sorry, but can you guys see my screen? Is it big enough? Or I need to zoom out a little bit?
It's okay, but yeah, a little zoom out will be much better.
Okay, sure. Moment, let me find how to zoom it. Okay,
Yeah, this is good.
okay. Let me show you how I write the HTML file. I prepare a file here, but I don't want to start from here because I want to show you from the start how I can code this. Okay, so okay, let's create a folder here. I'll call it my website. Okay, and I open it. I right click and I create a new file. Okay, call index.html. The extension is HTML. Okay, so the question here is why we need to name this file as index. Simply because the browser, when go to the server to get a file, right, the first file they will search for is the index file. So for every first file that we want to start develop the website is the index.html. Okay, so I right click, open with this Visual Studio Code. This is my favorite code editor. You can find it here. Visual. Okay. Yep, this is the one. Then I'll attach the link in the slide later and I'll send to you. Okay, let me paste here. Okay. And of course, you're welcome to use other editor too. All right. So whenever I create a file and the content will be empty. All right. So what I do here is you can actually start with typing the HTML code here. And yeah, but not normally we don't do so because there will be a template that we can use. Okay, the template here, if you use Visual Studio Code, you can generate the template like this, HTML and column 5, and you click on the button tab. It'll show you the template. Okay, so you have all this generated by default. Okay, so you'll see you have the HTML element here, and you have the title called document, and the body will be empty. Okay, all right. So I'll go back to my index.html that I created earlier. Okay, so okay, let me show you how I in the browser. Okay, so index.html. You can double click on it. Okay, select a browser to open it. Okay, there you go. Because there's no content within my file, so it'll be empty. So let's do the first thing first. So change the title. So the title will be title. Okay, let's put it HTML demo and save it. So if you come back here, right, you can refresh. You see the title here become the HTML demo. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Okay, the second thing here, we can create a division. So create a division, you put it division tag here. Okay, here you go. This is the division, but the division doesn't have anything, so you cannot see on the browser. So if I were to refresh here, right, you see the content has nothing. Okay, unless I put something in it, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I save it, then you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will show up here. Okay, okay, let's come back here. Okay, the third thing I need to do is add. Okay, we're going to group all the element within the division. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do here is add a paragraph. So the paragraph tag is P. Okay, so you can put some text inside. Let me find some text. Normally we'll take the
The infamous lorem ipsum.
lorem ipsum. So this is the common one.
Yeah.
So normally for demo purpose only, right? So
Yeah.
we put it here. Okay, so the text might be very long, so let me wrap it. Okay, cool. So let's refresh the page. You see, this will be a paragraph. Okay, but sometimes when you load something in the browser and you doesn't know how to debug the element, so there's a way to do it. What you need to do is right click on the browser and inspect the element. Okay, what you need to do here, right, go to the element tab. Okay, you'll see the whole HTML file loaded here. Okay, if sometimes there'll be a lot of element within one HTML file and you would like to find exactly the element you want to find, you can use this inspector. Okay, click on it and you'll be able to select the element, right? So they'll point you to the element that you select just now, right? This is it. Okay, so this is the inspect the troubleshooter that I use. Okay, let's do the next thing. Insert a span in a paragraph. Okay, let me choose a word here. Okay, I put a span start element and I close it. I close the tag. Okay, but you see nothing because the span is just a inline container. You have no effect on the display. All right, unless we put some styling in it. You'll see it later. But let me change the color of this text. Maybe red. Okay, and I save it. Go back here. I refresh. You'll see the text here is in red color. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next. So this is done. And the next one, add the Pikachu image. So to put the image here. All right. So the image tag is img. Right. So image is actually a empty element, so we no need to have a start and end tag in it. So but we need to define some attribute within the element. So the attribute will be the source. So the source, we need to point to the Pikachu image. So normally when you type the first column, you're able to select from the directory. So this is it. Okay, it will help you to auto complete the link. Otherwise, you have to type it one by one. It's sometimes, right, you type it wrongly too. So the other one is the alternative text. If let's say the link is broken, we can show something else meaningful. So this is my Pikachu. Okay, so let's go back to the browser and refresh it. You see your Pikachu is here. Yeah. So okay. So the next one, Okay, okay. The next one is add a broken link to the image. So just now I put a Pikachu. This is a working link. So if I put a 1 here, and this link will be broken. Okay, and let's come back to the browser, and you see the image will be empty, and they'll show you alternative text. This is my Pikachu. Okay, and to troubleshoot that, you actually can select the inspector, come here, then there will be a source. If you click on the source, right click, open in a new tab, you see your file was not found. This is how we troubleshoot it. Okay, and
So guys, here is the way you can try the relative path also. So instead of having Pikachu.jpg directly in HTML demo, if we create a folder here and put the Pikachu image in it, then you can use your relative path that we discussed in detail earlier.
yeah, we can
Yeah.
do so. Let's do it. For example, images. We create a folder and we move the Pikachu image here. Uh, okay. Then from here, we need to use a relative path. So we put a dot slash. So it'll show you the folder that you can select. All right. Then you select the images. Then you can select the Pikachu. Yeah, this is relative path. Right. So you save it. So you come here. So
Uh, Sorry, I have a question about the this thing that you're using, the Visual Studio Code, because
yep.
I installed it. When I try to get the template, the HTML template that you got, I don't see anything. I think because it's like I just installed it. Do I need to
No.
go get an extension or something to get that template?
Uh, no. This is built in. Let me show you.
Oh, okay.
You okay? You open. Let me do it here. Open a new file.
All right. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You type HTML
Mm-hmm.
and column 5.
Mm-hmm.
And oh, sorry. Before you do so, you need to change here to HTML. Yeah.
Sorry, where's this is
On the bottom right, this one. Can you
um,
see?
mm,
Right now, okay, I do it again. Okay.
In the footer.
in the footer? Okay.
Yeah, you can see in the footer near the bell icon, you have the plain text. There in the plain
Currently,
text,
this is
you have written.
Okay, okay. I see it.
plain
Okay,
text.
okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
If you
Okay.
click on the plain text, okay,
Okay,
you need
okay.
to type HTML
All right.
and you select this one.
I see. Okay,
So,
okay.
okay, by doing so, we are telling this Visual Studio Code that this file is a HTML file.
I see.
Yeah, this
Okay.
is because Studio Code is supporting lots many languages.
Mm-hmm.
For just the HTML part, we are not necessarily need the same IDE. If you have simple Visual Studio install like Visual Studio 2017 or Studio 2019, you can work on that also. In fact, you do not need any IDE for it. You can write simple HTML code even in Notepad++ or any editor, even on simple Notepad, and just save your file as .html and it will work like magic. So we generally use the IDE for much easier purpose of writing as there is intelligence and everything. But for HTML, ideally you do not need any IDE. A Notepad is good enough to work with.
Yes, you're right.
Mm. All right. Thank you. I understand this. But
Yep.
I really do like this Visual Studio Code.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, to generate the template, right? Type HTML column 5 and you need to tap, press the tab and it will come up.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Let me know if you cannot generate the template.
I managed to. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay. The next one, we need to add a link with a reference. So a link here, we can actually come back here and select a text. For example, the Laurenism. The link tag is A. and with the closing A. Okay. If you don't put any href attribute, you show as a normal tag, as a normal word. Okay, but here if you put the href and then you put the link, for example, I want to redirect the user if they click $isn't to Google. HTTPS. Okay, then we save it. Okay, and then we come to the browser. Oh, sorry, HTTP. All right, thank you. Okay, let's refresh again. So make sure the link is right. We can inspect it. So you can see here too. All right, click on the link here. You'll be redirected to Google. Okay, this is how it is. Okay, number 6 is done. Let's do number 7. Okay, a link without a reference. If I remove the reference here, okay, and we refresh, it display as a normal text. Let me zoom out a bit. You see, there'll be no link you can click. Right. So if you put A, make sure you put the href so that it'll show you a link where you can click. All right. So let's go to number 8, the unordered listing. Okay, unordered listing is actually a block level element, so it'll have a new line before and after. So because the picture is too big, let me remove it. Okay, so the unordered one is UL. We normally create an opening tag and closing tag together, and then we expand the content and we put the li. Li is list item. Okay, here you can put this maybe a car like Honda. Toyota, maybe BMW. All right, so come back here and we refresh the page. You see your display as an unordered list. So the symbol here will be a dot. Okay, the next thing will be the order list. So the order list, we just have to copy this element, change the tag here. Just now is UL, we change it to OL. Okay, order list. Make sure you change the closing tag as well, and come back here and refresh. You'll see the order list. You have 1, 2, 3. Okay. Okay. I think, yeah, I've done the HTML demo. So, yep. Anyone cannot follow? Um, if you have any question, you can ask in the chat. No? Okay. Then I'll proceed. I'll proceed with CSS. Right. I know the time is almost there. Okay. Okay. The next thing will be the CSS. CSS means cascading style sheet. Okay. So if you read by the definition, is to style the sheet. The sheet here meaning is a HTML, because if you look at the HTML file that I created just now, there's no styling and it's very ugly. If you created a web page like this and sent to the people to see, they will probably say this is really ugly. So we need something to style it. That's why we use the CSS. Okay, so the CSS is a language that used to style the HTML, and Mm, the thing you can style like is a lot. So it can be a font size, a font, or background image, or you can change you can add border, you can add margin or padding. Yeah, there are a lot. Okay, if you really excel in CSS, right, you can use a CSS to create a flag too. There's a GDE, Google Developer Expert, created a Malaysia flag using CSS only, and that's really powerful. Okay, so if you look at the picture, the HTML is like a skeleton of the bird, and with CSS, right, it become a very nice looking bird. Okay, let's start with the CSS. Okay, normally for CSS, we is we define it can be external in another file, or within the HTML file, or we code it inside the element. But let's start with the fundamental first. All right, so the selector. Normally when we write CSS, right, so we need to define the selector. The P here stands for paragraph, but this is the selector. That means we are telling the browser that we want to style every paragraph in this HTML file. So, and the triple dot right is actually represent the property and value. Then I'll show you later. So it must be start with the opening curly bracket and a closing or curly bracket. Okay. So the P here stand for a selector, and yeah, you can change the selector and how you to find out what are the element you want to find. Okay, I'll show you later on. Maybe this time you'll be very confusing. Okay, the next thing. Okay, we can add in a property to style the element. Okay, so if you look at the property here, the color, that means for all the paragraph inside the HTML, we're going to change the color to another value. Okay, or we're going to change the font size to another size, maybe bigger or smaller. So this is the property. Okay, there are a lot. And the next thing will be value. So if you look at the example here, for all the paragraph in this HTML file, we're going to change the color to orange and the font size to 16 pixel. Okay, this is how we define a CSS, and yeah, that's all. Okay, so the P will be the selector. You can select maybe a body, a P, or a division, or a span also. Okay, so you can there are a few types of selector. Later on I'll show you. And the property here will be the color and font size, and the value will be the orange and 60 pixel. Okay, so how to add a CSS in HTML file? Okay, there are a few ways. First of all, you can put it into the header, the head tag, all right, and a link. Use a link element with the attribute relationship style sheet, and by pointing the reference to the file. The file extension must be end with .css. Okay, this is the first way.
Venkat, sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but we are up with the current session time. But I think we are going to be continuing the session. But some of us, including me, and definitely need to jump on to another session of .NET Core. So we
Okay.
will be leaving, but I think you can continue with the session, and here members interested to learn the CSS can continue with you.
Okay. Sure.
I just want to add another thing for people who are interested. We have recorded this session, but the recording will end over here because Daphne is the host and she is recording it and she needs to jump out. We will be uploading this session on YouTube. Maybe she can add it into the group, or I have shared a WhatsApp group link which we are all using. and to stay connected for the study group for .NET Core and Angular. So please feel free to join that chat room so that you can stay updated and participate and more into the group and share your ideas and volunteer and even share what you want to learn further. It was really good to be part of with you all, and hope to see you next Saturday, same time again with the next session.
All right.
And thank you, Hongtat. You're doing a great job.
Thank you. See you on next Saturday.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. So let me continue. Right. So